Smart 24, driving business.
Yes, well, we're back from the break. You're still watching Smart Men's Business. I'm Manju Barije. I'm here with Master Consumer, definitely, as we're going to be driving you all the way. It's exactly 5 minutes past 8. And definitely at this point in time, we head into our business tips and course. But before we crossing over there, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform. Just a few minutes left for the markets to be operational. Now, for you to be a part of this, it's quite very simple. *92# is simply the USSD code. And by dialing this, you will be enabled with a number of options to be in position to buy government bonds or securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ghana shillings. Now, the markets open at exactly 8:15 a.m., running all the way to 3:15 p.m. East African time. And this is effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite the fact you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite some huge profits, something very key and instrumental when it comes to your financial development and growth as an individual. And you could be a trader and you're trading bonds and securities. And yeah, this is one of the ways. And remember, on top of *92#, you have to register with your national identification number for that to be made a possibility. Zabo says, my money, my future. And All Texas Africa tells you, do something new for yourself. Remember, it is the year 2023. Well, right about now, I remember it's the middle of the week, and as an entrepreneur, you need to be inspired in some sort of a way. Now, let's get into our business tips and quotes for the day. Well, what is not started will never get finished. You see, there is something called the now. You know, everything we do it in the now. Because so many times, so many cases, when we talk about what we'd love to achieve, we normally give ourselves a period, a very lengthy periods of time. Probably say in 5 years, I have to construct a house. In 10 years, I have to do this, which is fine. But you see, scientifically, it's been proven that the more you actually procrastinate your visions, it's more of a way to providing for your listeners, in some sort of a way. Everything happens in the now. Okay, 5 years, but what are you doing now to make sure that in 5 years' time you actually have that? Or you're waiting for the for example, if you say 5 years from now, that's today's 2023, that is 2028. So you're waiting to reach 2028, and then you start to actually implement what you talked about 3 years ago. I mean, 5 years back. So that is not right. Everything happens in the now, right?
Yes, everything happens in the now.
A story is told of a lizard and a spider. Actually, a friend of mine was telling me that. We were discussing something, and he told me a lizard and a spider said they were going to construct a house, and the spider straight away started to construct. But the lizard kept on saying, I will construct. Until now, it has not constructed a house.
Yeah. Don't lizards stay in rocks? Don't they like in rocks, lizards?
Yeah, they stay. I don't know, but they
In the ground or
somewhere.
rocks?
They stay somewhere. They. Yeah.
Definitely, maybe it built its house under a rock, and that was it.
It's just seeking refuge there. But a
It's like
spider.
its permanent house.
But a spider, even if you destroy it, yeah, it will go somewhere and put up
build.
one. It's not dependent on what you put, as long as there is a wall. You know, as long as here on earth, as long as you have land, you put up a building. But you're not going to go depend on a tree.
Anyway, I was thinking lately of the rich guys we have on the globe, the famous rich people. I realized they have like almost one thing in common, technology and software.
Technology and software, okay?
If you see the likes of Bill Gates, certain software, or Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
So, I don't know, it got me thinking, really, technology.
Actually, now this is the thing.
IT.
IT. You see, the reason is why majority of these countries have actually developed, even actually probably Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg are the best example we can actually sort out. But the use of IT, for example, e-commerce platforms, has been very instrumental when it comes to the development of those economies, the capitalist state. And that's something which in Africa we've not really taken, we hadn't really taken that serious.
Yes.
And it's just now the time that Africa is waking up to realize, because now the Western world has really advanced. So technology is not really a big issue. I mean, talking about programming, coding, it's not a big issue in the US right now. If you say, hey, I'm a programmer, I can make a website, I mean, it's not a big deal. Let me tell you, it's not. But in Uganda, it's a big deal because we still have a value. And I would actually caution any person that is into the IT sector. You see, when you take a look, I was having a discussion with somebody, and I was telling me, it's like now in the United States of America, there are some companies, probably streaming platforms, that could be trying to come up. It could be even e-commerce, social media platforms, but they cannot compete with Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and TikTok. So what they do, they will have to come to Africa, which is virgin, and establish their firm here.
Exactly.
But remember, when they come to Africa, they need to work with people.
Yes.
And that they will work with indigenous Africans who know the knowledge of IT. So you get to see how virgin Africa is and how the pioneers on IT are actually going to be very good people. So take a leg to the development of most of these countries that we look up to, and it still stands up to this day. Pointing out the landmark, because if we remember when we studied the history of the men that built those countries, from the way back aspect, there was this whole element, but we've had industrial revolutions. We had the first industrial revolution, we had the second, third, fourth, now the current age, because there was a time whereby the wealthiest people were in industry. We had a time whereby the wealthiest people were into the multimedia, the media. Were the time when media actually became to the maximum. But now, currently, the coming billionaires are going to be actually probably IT. But though this time around, it's just way beyond that. So AI. So this is quite very important when it comes to the positioning of yourself, most especially you as somebody that is seeking out to be somebody much more better. Remember, everything we do in this world, we don't do it basing on the society that we are into. I urge you to challenge yourself to think way outside the box, when it comes to the boundaries that you think, Don't just think about yourself as, I'm a Ugandan, I'm in Africa, I'm in East Africa. Have something that you can actually speak about, have something that you can put out there that any person can actually relate to. It could be an innovation out there, but don't just relate on Ugandan issues, because yes, you could solve them, but remember they're quite universal problems that need to be solved at the same time.
Oh yeah, well of course, we've been talking about Elon Musk. So, do you know he actually had a game?
Had a game?
He started coding when he was a kid.
At what age was that?
Around 10 to 12. And he came up with a video game.
Called?
Blaster. Blaster.
And did he sell it?
Yes, of course he sold it, definitely.
Okay.
And he got better, he got exposed to better things. Just imagine when you start, he actually taught himself how to code, really. How brilliant is that at a young age of 10 or 12? I think that is the starting point. Starting when you're at a younger age, you build yourself. You try as much as you can to push yourself, because now this is where they came from. Really. They didn't come from rich families. Those many people think what. You push yourself. You learn a thing or two on your own. The things that you can teach yourself. The thing about learning when you're a child is because kids are touchy. So you find yourself doing something unknowingly.
Yeah.
Connecting wires and doing funny things, you come out with something. So I think him doing this and coming up with a video game, he realized he had the brains.
But let me ask, learning at a child at a young age, maybe people have different brains.
Yeah.
Because
maybe his IQ.
No, what I'm trying to say is that, you see, remember way back in the time when you were introduced to concepts. Okay, I don't know whether it's the style of teaching that is being put out there that really relates to how we get things right. Because there are things that seem to be hard. I will give an example. Chemistry is one of the subjects which people really, I don't know whether it was I don't know, maybe for you engineers you used to do it well.
I really was terrible at, I can't think I can balance the equation of water.
Sorry. Now, okay. Right now, when I review some of these chemical-related elements, they seem simple. Then I ask myself, what was hard during that time? But why? It's because now you get to realize that everything relates into this world, right? The way we relate, just that we have social science, and this is more of the technical science bit of it that we study, but also relating with people is some sort of a science. So if you can balance an equation, that means you can also balance books of accounts. It's the same principles actually you apply. Just that it just changes here and there. The figures change here because you have figures. Now here you're dealing with symbols, right?
Yes.
But the same principles, making sure that this balances with this, are the ones you actually apply. Those are the same principles that you apply when it comes to leading people. That's why if you've seen people, some people plan for the future, but I've seen people... I've seen documentaries whereby somebody is planning for a war, but they're having an equation. Yeah. So it brings you to this point that this is life. These figures, it's what life is really relating to.
I think everything, someone once told me everything rotates, everything requires math.
Yes.
Even if it's war, you have to plan on how to
make
attack.
An equation. You have to make an equation for a war. Napoleon used to make equations for the war.
You see, that is what got him to win the wars. So
but there is one which he didn't.
Of course, at times the equation doesn't.
Wrong equation. You balance it wrongly.
Yes.
You need to find X. You need to find Z. Cosine rule, cosine. You remember cosine sign?
Yes, I remember cosine.
Tan.
Oh wow! I was telling my friend, when it comes to math, I think the farthest I'll go is like senior one.
Senior one.
The farthest I'll go if I was to do homework, I think it's like senior one.
Did you do functions?
I did functions, but if they were to bring an exam of senior 2,
what would you get?
I don't think below my age.
Why do you say that?
Because I had trouble with maths. I don't know. I had trouble with maths.
Actually, math was really. I don't remember when we used to do vectors. But anyway, as you grow up, you get to realize that actually these concepts work in daily life.
Yes.
That sometimes we. The only challenge is that maybe we're taught. If we were taught the theory side of mathematics. In knowing how things operate, you can find that actually you can make your own equation. Because this is life put in codes. Actually, mathematics is life put in codes.
I think I like the fact that when we were in primary, they used to give you an example. If John had 2 pens, and he then went to Andrew. How many pens do you think
He stayed with.
he stayed with? I mean, the kid had to think, if I am John, definitely
I have 2 pens.
2 pens, and I give one to my friend, I'm left with 1.
I stay with 1.
So I think that is where, we got that feel of relating it to
Solving what they used to call it, solving word problems. Solving word problems.
Yes. So that is why it was a bit simpler in primary. When it got to secondary, it was a bit intense, and the equation you're finding y do y x to y, the y do y, and you can't really understand.
Wow. Very interesting. But anyway, it's very important to embrace these concepts. I would actually urge any person, if you're watching and you're into that state, you're looking at these, just take your time and get to love it if possible. By the other time we started, we never had math. We never got a chance to watch tutorials. YouTube wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was, I think, it was Facebook that was a thing.
Okay, in my generation, it's not even Facebook was. I don't know. That's interesting. But anyway, this is the thing. Embracing these concepts, at an earlier stage is very key and important. You get to realize that actually, as you grow out there and you reach out to most of these careers that we call highly paying careers, that are going to really pay you quite some huge sums of money, you may have to involve some sorts of logic, and that all falls in when you do some elements of mathematics, and so many of that's chemistry related to that, and so many, and even those that are into the ICT coding at some point. You'll have to do some equations. Well, that is it for our inspirational moment. Now let's wind this up as we take a look at the investment policies in Uganda. But of course, the ultimate question in here is to ask ourselves, how are they really affecting positively the indigenous Ugandans? Talking about the local people in there, because according to this discussion that is coming up, they seem to be a little bit favoring more of the foreigners that come into our country, Uganda. But definitely, what needs to be revised? Because more of those discussions actually will be proceeding further, even into our business side. But for now, let's go into this conversation as we assess the investment climate into the country Uganda.
As we all know, Ugandans are grappling with the employment problems. The country is also grappling with the limited domestic resource mobilization. And these are signs that we are not mobilizing enough tax revenue. How does this come about? It comes about because some of our policies are not qualified. For example, if you offer blanket unqualified tax waivers to companies, what do you get in return? And usually what happens is, once many of these multinationals have exploited the tax waivers and other investment offerings, they tend to exit the market. The reason we are not able to create more jobs, the reason the economy is not growing strong and we are not able to mobilize adequate domestic resources is because of some of those things. It means we must be able to revisit our investment codes and evaluate them to see how we've been able to achieve with the current policies in place. Those that are not serving the country must be abandoned, and that's what many countries do. We cannot have policies that continue to enrich the multinationals while making Ugandans become poorer, while making Ugandans not get services that government is supposed to deliver. The government can only be able to deliver not by borrowing. Our debt burden is growing up. Soon, actually, we are getting into a debt distress. All these are happening because the policies are not achieving what they are supposed to achieve. The policies are supposed to attract investments. The investments are supposed to translate into more domestic resources. They are supposed to translate into jobs for our people. But if you have a situation where the economy is not working, companies exiting, taxes the tax to GDP ratio is very low, you should begin to query, because those are linked issues. One leads to the other. And when you are not receiving those benefits, it is a call to action to the policymakers, to the executive, to all of us involved in this process to rework and relook into our investment code. I think the first thing is to take stock of what we have and gauge it against the target it was meant to achieve, and then ask, have we achieved what we are meant to achieve arising from putting in place these policies? If those are not happening, then they are worth changing. That's why I said we need to qualify our policies. We need to assess them for cost benefit, such that we're able to say these ones can tick, these ones have failed to serve the nation and achieve the intended objectives. Not just a blanket offering which may not be able to serve the country. And one of the problems with our current code is it largely favors foreigners. The local businesses are struggling. They borrow at a very costly interest. They are not receiving some of the benefits that foreign investors acquire. And also, if you look at our code should have been able to discourage people who purport to be investors. If someone comes with 1,000, they are opening supermarkets, they are opening small retail businesses, things that should have ordinarily been for indigenous people. Where is the whole point of offering and putting in place a legislative framework? It means our investment code is not serving the interest of Ugandans. If you go to Ethiopia, they have clearly defined what foreigners can get into. They have clearly defined what constitutes an investment that can receive tax benefits, that can receive free land, that can receive other benefits. But in our case, this is not happening. And the whole thing is also riddled with corruption. And because of all those issues, I really think it's right we should be able to review our policies from time to time to weed those that are not serving the interest of the country.
Tonight, I have the honor of introducing a very